Hey folks, before we get started today, September 26th, Metazoa Brewing Company, 140 South College Ave in Indianapolis, Indiana. And guess what? It's going to be Robert's film photography meetup with Ilford Photo, Harman Photo, Kodak, Cinestill, Film Photography Project, Flick Film, Revelog, Double Film, and, get this, Pentax.
Ooh.
I'm here in the studio today with myself, Michael Raso, Paige Davis.
Hey.
Matt Marrash.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
And I said to Paige, because this was posted on Instagram, but it was also posted on like X and like a bunch of other places. I said to Paige, I'm like, when it says with, how do they list these different film entities? Like, how does Ilford get to the top, and like, why is Pentax at the bottom? How come we're in the middle? You know,
how much do we got to
I'm
pay
the only
to get
person
to the top?
on the planet who thinks about this, by the way. Yeah. And then I looked at the different feeds. They switch it up.
Oh, okay.
So
everybody gets to feel special.
Everyone gets, except for Ilford Photo, Harman Photo, and Kodak.
Who are always at the top.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Pentax is always and Pentax. That might be like when you see a movie and it says the last credit is like N Marlon Brando as.
Oh, okay, the headliner.
It's a headliner, but it's at the end of the credits.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be this meetup. It's going to be very special. And it's going to be myself, Paige Davis, and Matt Marrash at this event.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
It is going to be a lot of fun. And I look forward to seeing everyone there. On today's show...
What show?
Well, we're going to talk about stuff, some great stuff. We have some new films that it's important everyone knows about because we forget to talk about it all the time. Like our last show, we just forgot to talk about it. Like we have our new monster film. We have Color 125 in 120 format. 127 film is now readily available. And we're going to talk about a few other formats as well as read a few letters and some other fun stuff as soon as we come back.
This is the first Christmas you can give a Kodak Instamatic camera for less than $10. A Kodak Instamatic 44 camera that loads in seconds, uses flash cubes indoors, and takes pictures in black and white or color, even color slides. Give a Kodak Instamatic 44 camera less than $10. A good gift for anyone to give or receive. See your Kodak dealer.
Hey, we're back. Why don't we open up with a letter?
Okay, great. Thank you. So Michael's just handed me a letter, and I'm going to probably butcher the last name of Brian, who wrote into us. So bear with me, everybody. Brian Shiraval. Matt's nodding his head.
I'd say that's going to be better than I did. Yeah.
Okay, so we believe this is from Brian. Forgive me, Brian Shiraval. And the letter reads, "Hello. I've been catching up with your podcast while at work. Just listened to episode 279 where you referenced the Nabisco plant off 208 in Fairlawn."
Yes.
New Nabisco coconut shortbread. The news is coconut. Real coconut in a shortbread cookie.
Where you referenced the Nabisco plant off 208 in Fairlawn.
Yes.
That brought back a lot of memories, some of them good. In the 90s, I worked third shift at the Qualex Kodak lab in Fairlawn.
Oh.
It was next door to Nabisco. And some mornings, I'd leave work and the whole neighborhood would smell of chocolate chip cookies. Heavenly.
Wow.
Luckily, Lee and Perrins, which was in the same campus, didn't produce Worcestershire sauce. I'm sorry, I'm just cracking up, on site. So, yes, so thank you. I'm sure that would have been much less pleasant.
Yeah, that could be a really nasty combination now that I think of it. Yeah.
It was Scentscape. Sounds
Yeah,
like Scentscape to start your day. So thank you, Brian. Michael, do you have anything to tell us about?
Yes.
Yes.
So Nabisco moved their plant from Fairlawn in, I want to say 2021. So when we first moved into this facility, which was around 2018, I would drive into work in the morning, get out of my car, and here we are. I mean, we're kind of walking distance from Nabisco, but you have to like walk up the block, cross the main highway, and there's that huge Nabisco building. The whole town smelled like Cookies.
One day, Melvin R. Thompson went for a stroll through the neighborhood park where he met not a soul. But he heard something crunching. And there on the ground was an Oreo cookie.
It's incredible. It was just incredible smell. And I found myself buying more Nabisco products in the store because of it. And they've since moved. They've moved to the Carolinas. I'm very, very happy for those folks wherever that Nabisco plant moved to. And the iconic building, which had huge, from the road, huge Nabisco, each like Nabisco spelled out in huge letters at the top. The building is still standing, and it's been like a 3-4 year task. They're taking it apart like bit by
Piece
bit,
by piece, yeah.
piece by piece. It's a big controversy in town. They were going to implode it.
Oh, and that was probably not going to go over
They
well.
got poo-pooed.
It's not often that you're actually excited for a big company coming into town and making the place smell. That's usually the negative thing. You don't want that happening.
But I mean, this building, this was like Mad Men era, which, folks, that's like, mid 1950s, 1960. I mean, the whole building was mid 20th century. There are orange chairs in there, and like, orange plastic couches in there.
Pure natural honey flavors tender puffs of rice. A combination so delicious, no sugar is needed. Yes, eating Nabisco rice honeys is so doggone good, every day feels like a holiday.
I'm Buffalo Bee, take my advice, get Nabisco, eat honeys, also rice.
Today, exciting stuff, guys. Got Jekyll Hyde announcing the big new, exciting FPP monster film for 2024, Jekyll Hyde in 35 millimeter. And then the icing on the cake is FPP Dracula in 120 and 4x5.
Yes.
Did I send you any of that?
Yes.
You did?
I played
Okay.
with a little bit of it. Yeah.
Okay. That's exciting because these are all great emulsions. So the Dracula, there's no secret, Dracula is FN64 by Svema. The new Jekyll Hyde is Tasma NK2. These are all classic emulsions. Even though FPP carries those emulsions as Tasma NK2 or FN64, those are just in our shop. They don't go out nationally. By wrapping a monster around these, we send them out very wide, and a lot of people would not have an opportunity to shoot, let's say, NK2 for black and white film, has that opportunity because they're having fun by shooting Jekyll and Hyde in their camera, and they're getting this great emulsion. And Jekyll Hyde artist Paige Davis is here with us.
Hello.
This is the closest art that we have that, to me, if anyone knows what this is, resembles a Rankin Bass cartoon.
It's a difficult responsibility.
Rankin Bass was an animator in the 60s and most famous for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer,
Okay.
The Year Without a Santa Claus, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. It was puppet animation. And anyone who knows Rankin Bass who looks at our Jekyll Hyde will be like, oh my God, that could be a Rankin Bass cartoon. And it's true.
If anyone listening would like another little sort of glimpse behind the curtain, this is the process of how the FPP monster films and many of the other critter or specialty or novelty films arise. Michael will have a thought of the day. This often occurs after a cup of coffee or two, and I will receive a text or a phone call in which Michael's enthusiasm is just like infectious from the get-go, and he says, okay, what if we launch monster films for Halloween? And then he'll throw a bunch of ideas at me, and sometimes we have an adequate amount of time to really like drill down on them. And sometimes, especially with the first in the series, the Dracula, there really was just about enough time for Michael to have a brilliant idea for me to try to execute a concept sketch of it and then just throw it out there and see if people had any interest. So the monster series has evolved throughout the years. I think if you look at the designs a little bit, but they always start with Michael's big monster idea of the day.
Dracula we rolled out at the PDN was the first year pre-pandemic. Matt and I were at the PDN, and all Freestyle was there. Shout out to Freestyle. I really want to thank you guys. I mean, they've been around since like the 40s or 50s, and they carry our films, and they have their partner logos, and they populate their partner logos with FPP. And that's really, really appreciated.
They've always been really supportive, and I remember back to the early days of FPP, they were always calling us over to do interviews and talk about exciting new stuff. So that it's great that, we've got that. They've given us that opportunity. They
support us as opposed to like them seeing us as
competition or whatever. Yeah, we're not.
And that's a beautiful thing. And that, the whole concept, as our listeners see it, as Hands Across America.
Yeah.
Kumbaya, we're all holding hands.
Yeah.
So when you have companies that coexist and are friendly and support each other, that's pretty exciting.
It's a nice thing to see.
Yeah. But I don't know, Matt, if you ever got a call with my idea of the day. I do have an idea of a day.
You bounced a few of them off me. I think when we were going into, I'm trying to think if it was for Wolfman or it was Frankenstein. It was like, okay, what do we call this one? And I was like, oh, you have to have the monster's speed match the ISO. So I probably threw you off because I gave Mike some other ideas. But
we didn't stick to that because Mummy 400
it's a little faster than a mummy would be. Yeah.
First of all, I'm a huge fan of the Universal Mummy movies.
The Mummy.
I don't know how anyone got killed by the Mummy because you could outwalk the Mummy.
You could outcrawl the Mummy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
we still haven't gotten the Blob, so that idea of mine failed too. So
So we're still in the classic.
More years of opportunity.
And I never know if there's going to be a new monster. Because everything has a course to run.
Yeah.
I am thrilled that existing monsters like Dracula are getting the treatment of.
The full line treatment. Yeah,
especially FN64. It's
such a nice film.
It's a unique, it's not a well-known emulsion. It's from our friends at Sfema. The fact that they have it or can make it large format is awesome. Amazing.
Yeah,
and I'm just so thrilled. And I mean, these are the larger formats are smaller batches.
Oh, yeah, they have to be, yeah.
I think everyone's going to be really enthusiastic about that. So Jekyll Hyde is just 35 millimeter. It's 100 ISO. Every monster has its own unique emulsion. They're all different. And that's kind of exciting, just bringing something, to the public, especially broad in the sense of releasing Jekyll Hyde or any of our monsters nationally through Robert's distribution. This allows B&H to carry it. Or for Freestyle to carry it. And I think what FPP does best is take emulsions that no one knows about. The concept of like FPP does not make film, but we research film and we test film and we see oh my God, this is such an amazing film. And then we package it in a way that the general public can enjoy it. I think that's a great thing. Because
there's very few people out there who enjoy rattling off emulsion numbers. It's much easier.
Yeah.
The monsters roll right off the tongue. Yeah.
There's always the internet folks who they just want to know what the emulsion is because they have to know for no reason.
Yeah.
Every emulsion that we release, before it actually comes to a release date, we do so much testing. Matt gets it. Everyone at FPP gets it. A new champion's been Trevely at thedarkroom.com.
He's really consistent.
Yeah. Very excited about it. I can't flip him to movie film or anything like that.
Well, I'm working on him. I show every time I go see him because he's not too far from me. I have a movie camera in hand. Nothing yet.
Yeah.
But he's got kids. At any moment, he's going to crack.
Okay. It could take years.
It could.
Paige, the fact that Matt, it was like he turned.
It was.
It was like instantaneous. It was like it was infected.
28 days later.
I never saw anything like it because Matt was the last guy on the planet I thought would I'm like, Matt's never going to shoot movie film.
Yeah.
I mean, there are folks who will not touch. Mark O'Brien won't touch it. Dalzell won't touch it. Leslie shot some movie film. Mm-hmm. And she did a great job.
Yeah.
She's a great shooter. She doesn't give herself enough credit. Wonderful. Shot Super 8. Owen, of course. Mm-hmm. Owen, of course, came up with so many great ideas that I ignored for 5, 6, 7 years. He's the guy. He's the ideas man.
He's probably shot the most volume of any of us. He shoots so much.
Owen McCafferty, the newest FPP, member of the gang. He is. What's wonderful is he's all in. So very much the way you are with large format. Not only does he shoot movie film, but he develops it himself.
Yeah.
Scanning? What scanning? He projects it in a vintage projector. And of course we'll scan it for him. That's the exciting thing of bringing new films out to the public. So Jekyll Hyde 100 ISO, black and white. It's a great emulsion. We'll have a few examples on the website. It's available nationally. You can buy it in your favorite camera store. I'm going to get a list from Roberts of who's carrying it so I could do a shout out. If you're a camera store that's listening and you carry any FPP films, just drop us an email, podcast@filmphotographyproject.com. We want to tell everyone that you're carrying the film. Color 125.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Color 125 is going to get to the cult status of retrochrome, but things do take time.
It's a pretty sweet film.
Color 125, we've had it in 35 millimeter forever. And only now is it starting to actually catch on. Mm-hmm. And then the concept of releasing it in 120 is brand new.
Yeah.
And only now, I like to say the film speaks for itself, because when I send it to Matt and I send it to Trev Lee from thedarkroom.com, Caleb from Bad Flashes did a video on it.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It's exciting when people discover the film and they know what I already know, because as a film shooter, I shoot these emulsions and I just love it. But Matt, you have some experience with it.
Yeah, I played around with some of the 120 I did a little studio and a little natural light shooting. So I got together with my buddy Tariq, and we set up just a fun little shoot with a model we'd worked with before when testing out some FPP monster films. And I'd seen from plenty of the Dalzell archives, because he's like a chronic Color 125 shooter. He's documented years on that film. And I was like, okay, so this has it's definitely got a different color palette. I want to see how this looks versus maybe like Portra 160 or like an Ektar. So I loaded up some Portra. I shot both of those, not like super scientific on a tripod sort of thing, but we did some headshots with some A and B on that, and then it was like later in the day we also did some natural light shooting towards the end of the day, reflector stuff, and I just really like how it looks. It's unique. It's not Portra 160, which is great because that's my favorite film. It's my go-to. It's just safe, it's like it's the default answer. It's the Big Mac and a Coke, of most film shooters' kit. And this is just a little bit different. The color palette is, it's slightly hue shifted. There's a little bit more saturation in some values, and others it just gets like a little bit more muted. I find the Color 125, I don't think it's a pusher for a film. So if you're somebody that does crazy stuff, like pushes it at 400 or 800, you're going to get some really funky results. But it's a nice, clean, relatively sharp film. And it when you're shooting it at daylight or correcting it for daylight, it looks beautiful. I think it holds up to warming up really well too. I did a few shots where I added a slight warming filter in front of it, and just shoot it late in the day. It looks beautiful. So it's got a little bit punchier oranges and magentas on there, which is great. The greens feel a little bit more blue on there than maybe some of the I guess all Kodak has a lot of cyan in there, but there's a cool look to it. I think I think you would benefit really well shooting very colorful subject matter. I don't know if I would like just shoot it in the woods unless there's something colorful there. Maybe fall colors.
It likes red.
Yes, I think fall colors look really, really good with color 125. And the fact that it's 120 means we could do some cool things like throw it in a panoramic camera, like a 6x12 or a 6x17. So that's going to be my next thing is I'm going to throw that into the back of a 4x5 with a panoramic back. Just because I think it'll look really, really cool.
What camera did you shoot it in?
So for the studio shots, we did a mixture of RB, Mamiya RB 67 and RZ 67 because that works really well with like the flash. And then I did one roll in the Hasselblad. And this time you actually sent me quite a bit of film to work with. So
good.
I also threw a roll in my grandfather's 100-year-old Kodak pocket folder 6x9 camera. And it looked great in there too. I would say, like, it's a ISO 125 film. Definitely, like, stay on the low side of 125. I wouldn't really push it.
Have you shot 35?
I shot the 35 forever ago. Remember when I was like running around with like a lot of point and shoots?
Yeah.
Like, I brought like the
Yep.
Yeah, the XA and stuff. I shot a lot of it in the XA, and then I think I put it in like a Leica point and shoot one time. When we were like doing some diner runs with O'Brien and Leslie, but I haven't shot it since then.
You know, the year 2024, if you think about it, like, this is, like, ironically, right? It seems weird that it's the best time for filming. Think about it. FPP color 125. We're talking about 120. Phoenix 200.
Mm-hmm.
Gold 200, which is fairly new to the market. I mean, it's insane.
I would really think a time-traveling version of myself was lying if I came back to myself in 2008, 2009 and said the best time for medium format's going to be in 15 years. Yeah.
And let's not forget lomography, which, like, they're like unstoppable. You have like purple, turquoise,
Metropolis,
yeah. Color 92,
92, yeah.
Like, and they'll put it out in 35,
Everything.
110. 10 years ago, they would also put it out in 16 millimeter.
No,
at Super 8, there was Super 8 purple.
The first time you told me that, I died a little inside because I was like, oh, if I wasn't so stubborn, I would have totally been into this. Yeah.
I don't know why they stopped. They must be
They had the
contacted.
market. Yeah, it has to happen.
The market's right here.
Mm-hmm.
They do a special run just for FPP.
Love it.
I think someone over there is really into the motion. Because for them to do a Super 8 run...
That's a commitment, yeah. I mean, we know because we just did FPP Color 125 and 120.
Yeah.
It's a commitment.
But I forget that lomography used to put out movie films, special limited edition movie films. That's really exciting. Matt's turn to read a letter.
Okay.
This is our good friend. You may know this gentleman, Andrew Bartram from...
Of course, Andrew, yeah.
War Boy Snapper?
Yes, also of the large format photography podcast.
Is that right?
Yeah. Co-host on there.
Yeah, I don't listen to any other podcasts, folks.
I know. That's okay. I think the other podcasts hosts they get it.
I'm too busy listening to Ensology, which is the Split Ends podcast.
Oh, okay.
For anyone is New Zealand considered down under? I don't want to insult New Zealanders because then Australia's down under. Well, what is New Zealand?
They down adjacent?
Yeah.
That is an excellent question.
From Andrew. Dear Mike and the gang, I first started listening to FPP back in 2011 when I was recovering from eye surgery. Back in those days, Mike was a huge Polaroid and then Impossible Project fan, but I really wasn't. Listening to all those shows converted me to the joys of instant film, and I went into the rabbit hole that took years to come out of. Polaroid, automatic land cameras, vintage, SX70, Polaroid box cameras, you name it. I even became an Impossible pioneer. Ooh, I have one of those metal cards too.
Yeah.
I don't think it does anything anymore. Visiting New York City in 2012 was a highlight as I was able to visit the Impossible space. The other highlight was meeting you all in London the same year. My love for film and darkroom work is as strong as ever as I near 60 years of age. I've never owned a digital camera, and film and darkroom is all I've ever known. The FPP and early days of Twitter reignited my film photography passion, and the folks I've met in the intervening years have brought added joy to my lifelong passion. Having co-hosted film podcasts, one of which Matt's been on, my podcast listening has been reduced in recent years. So in August 2024, I find myself once again at home, this time with a broken toe. And whilst I'm now semi-retired, the injured pinky means I can do... I can't do my part-time job for a couple weeks. Time to catch up on the podcast, and I have to say it's as inspirational now as it was back in 2012. Many thanks to you all. Love and best wishes, Andrew Bartram.
Oh,
That was great.
that was
great.
great.
Andrew followed up with, like, when you're coming to England, and I said, Andrew, jokingly, I said, hey, contact Paul at Analog Wonderland. Ask him. And then I got an email from Paul with Andrew on copy.
Nice.
Like, oh, Nick, because the UK, they have a show every year.
Yeah, they're on it.
Yeah, they're it's been active, and I think Analog Wonderland has been a big part of, I mean, they were not a company when we visited England, John and I, in 2012.
No, but they've really been at it the last few years. Yeah.
Energizing the movement.
Yeah, so it's not out of the question, Andrew, for us to jump the pond one more time.
Be cool.
It would be cool. That means I would have to get my passport renewed.
It's easy. I was telling you about this, Mike. It's easier than ever.
That's only in Ohio, I think.
No. It's all online now. There's a new online beta renewal program. Laura had to redo hers because we're going to Germany soon.
Folks, I want you to know, like, in the past, like, everything's technologically advanced except for DMV, government agencies. But I'm glad to hear this. It used to be like, to get your passport renewed,
it was
you
a
need
nightmare.
like physical birth certificate. They want to see your original baby teeth. Like, it was it was nuts.
So it's so different. The last time I had to get a renewal was like in 2008 when I got my first renewal. It was a nightmare because it was coming up close to my Japan trip, and I was outside of that like 6 to 8 week window. So I had to have all this extra documentation. I had to drive up to Detroit to like the local consulate, and I had to get this stuff like stamped, and then I had to pay them extra money to expedite it. And I just got it like 2 days before I left. This time, so different. It's all online. You can even, I don't recommend it, but you can even take the official photo with a smartphone as long as you're in the correct lighting, and they have the instructions for it on there. Mike, it took 8 days, start to finish.
Did you submit your photo?
Digitally, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's all, you can do it from a phone. I'd recommend doing it from a desktop because of file size and such, but it was so easy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very...
No excuses.
And that's the new online renewal beta program. The U.S. government is not paying us money. That would be cool.
We have a few more letters. This is from Joe Collins. Joe sent us a photograph shot on lomography Metropolis with his Nikon N2000 camera. 8th and Hamilton, Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is very competently and beautifully shot.
Yes.
I have a cousin in Allentown. Cool.
Joe said, he sent us that with, he said, here's a little something to get some pizza to keep the lights on. So Joe sent a Canon QL17 for our school camera donation program.
Ooh, that's a nice one.
Some 35 millimeter outside canisters, which already reused, Joe. And he dropped us the hunch cash.
Whoa.
And that, today was Pizza Friday. Today's recording was part of a pizza celebration.
Wow.
So that's on you. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah,
Thanks,
really
Joe.
appreciate
Pie was
that.
great.
Here's a nice letter for Paige.
Okay.
You guys do a great job reading letters.
I
You really do.
thought you were going to set me up for this one. I'm just going in cold. Okay. So this letter is from Ian Fleming.
Oh,
I listened, then watched via YouTube today, and you're still the best. Great production values, high quality, etc. Keep giving the 126 love. It's a great format. We have a lot in common on analog video shooting in the 80s and 90s. Regards, Ian Fleming, which may be one of the best names ever.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ian.
John Fideli's not here today, but John and I could talk about 1990s videography. We could probably start our own podcast called the 1990s Corporate Videography Podcast. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's very special. And there are a few listeners who really could tap into that. Like, oh my God, us wheeling a control room into a hotel room and setting up and doing like 3-4, camera corporate shoots.
Yep.
And then running the tapes upstairs and editing them while the event's still going on. Analog tape, of course.
Ooh.
So that you could present it that night on a big screen. It's be all one corporation like Bell or AT&T or, some mega corporation.
And the asymmetrical walk because you've got massive heavy equipment on one shoulder that you're carrying along as well.
Oh, both John and myself had to get chiropractic care.
Ugh.
Because between corporate and weddings,
you're weighing down one shoulder.
Weighing down one shoulder. So I'm glad you could appreciate Ian. And Ian is myself, Owen McCafferty, and Ian are the world 126 shooters.
Yeah, so you're all in agreement on the status of 126.
I will say this very quickly, Owen. Since you saw Owen in April in Columbus, he's devised and we've organized a 126 perf system.
Oh,
so we've perfed about 400 rolls of film, and they're almost sold out. So there are more shooters than just myself, Owen, and Ian Fleming.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. People who have those cameras, they want film. So this is going to open up a nice quick topic because I don't know too much about these films, but Matt, there are a lot of films coming out of either Taiwan, China, Japan. I don't really know too much about these films, but they exist.
Oh. I don't know, but I'm going to find out about them here too. So this is from Jerry Matthews. Hey folks, just a quick query if any of you have heard of this color negative film ISO 400 from Japan called Ascura Showa. It shows to have a very retro feel to it, but what drew me to it was the box and the film canister. Really cool design, if only they had a poster. I've included a link which describes the film in detail. I've not personally used it, but the cost is over $20 a roll.
Yeah.
It also comes in only 30 exposure rolls. Never saw that before. Anyway, I thought I could ask the film collective what they think. Keep up the great work, Jerry Matthews. So I guess there's an F-Stoppers article that talks about it, but mystery Japanese 35 color film. I'm betting this is like maybe something that was used for one-time use cameras if it's 30 exposures.
Oh, that could be.
Okay, here we go. So
that is a cool package.
Oh, that is amazing.
How do you spell it, Matt?
This is Showa Escura, Escura Showa. So ESCURA, and then Showa SHOWA. Oh, and the video that's cited in the article here is from Matt Loves Cameras. Yeah,
So
I've not seen this.
So Matt Loves Cameras is in Australia,
Over
right?
in Australia, which makes sense because they're going to get a lot of the stuff coming from Japan. And they'll sometimes get it faster than we do.
Is this what you're looking at?
That's the one, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's special.
Beautiful.
See, now Paige has to do even more work on the monster art.
There's a...
I need to step up my game.
we need like a kabuki
sure.
film.
There you go. That is an interesting film.
There's a store in Japan, Champ Camera. They carry like every known film on the planet.
I've not seen Champ, but I've personally gone to Map Camera and a few of the large Bic Camera Ultra stores in Japan. Amazing.
Yeah.
But of course, when I went there, the first time I ever went to a Bic Camera, which is literally like some of these are 5-6 floors. There was I think it was the 4th floor. The whole floor was film. And like half of it was kind of like the refrigerated area of a supermarket. Except instead of like slabs of meat, it's just like all these different films that are hanging out. And Mike, I didn't give a crap about any of it. But I even took pictures. I was like, there's so much. And there's probably not even a third of all of that Fujifilm that was there. Like stuff I'll never see again.
Yeah.
Natura 1600, all of that. Oh my God. I'm so stupid.
There are a lot of films like this. I don't know who in the U.S. carries it, or where You could go online and just buy it and just get it shipped from Japan.
Yeah. My first thought was, man, this really does have that muted kind of look that you would get out of some of those specialty Lomo films. But yeah, it's definitely like a really just muted.
I don't think about
palette.
like I don't really think about like, oh my god, what is that emotion? Because I just take it at face value. I don't care.
Yeah, you either like it or you don't.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It could be expired Fujifilm. It could be fresh Fujifilm. It could be a film that's not rated for 400, but they're rating at 400 because it gives a certain look at 400.
You know, I think what you're trying to describe is the magic of, I don't care what it is, but if I can get it and I can reproduce that look, that's all that matters. That's the biggest thing. Like right now, my big thing, my favorite look, before we started recording, folks, my new favorite cine film is a film, sadly, that doesn't exist anymore, but I will chase that look as long as physically possible. And it's this crazy stuff, the Fuji Eterna.
Look at the tin it's in, Paige.
Isn't it? And the tins are actually like really,
it's in
really
a
great.
Square, rounded.
But it's got a perfect rounded thing.
Tin.
Yeah. I love these. But Eterna just has a nice look. I mean, I could do a digital conversion. I could do a LUT to get this, but it's not the same.
You shoot digital, Page, and then you'd use, I call it a drop-down filter.
Yeah, or preset, yeah.
What does LUT stand for?
Lookup table.
So someone shoots video, they're like, I want this to look like Fuji
Eterna. And you just drop it on.
Does it look the same?
So I don't know if you know this, Mike. I'm a Fuji shooter, so my mirrorless, my digital stuff is all Fuji.
Fuji brand camera.
Yeah, I use the XT and the XH, and sometimes I rent out the GFX.
Mm-hmm.
And since Fuji are the ones that created the Eterna stock, they actually have presets and LUTs built into those cameras that kind of a burned-in look. My favorite look when I shoot my the YouTube stuff and I color grade it, Eterna is the color profile that I use. So the cool thing is I can just shoot this and I don't have to do anything. It just looks beautiful. Even if it's 10 years, 20 years expired, it still looks great.
Do you watch feature films, like let's say a Marvel film or something super Hollywood, and do you and other folks look at those movies and say, no, you like this LUT, or they're using this drop down, or this look, or is Hollywood unique and they're blending and doing special things?
I think a lot of the really, really great films are always using their own mix, their own blend. I think the only time that it gets discussed so much is it's more of like a newer digital thing where it's, how do I get the look of this classic film? How do I get the look of this classic stock? And I think what that conversation usually boils down to is, well, they had this look because that was the cheapest film that they could get 500,000 feet of back in 1991, So there's more options today, and the stylistic choices. I think it's funny that we have all these stylistic choices, and oftentimes a lot of these movies kind of all run together. The look of them they all kind of look the same after a while. But yeah, there's some color graders that I follow on YouTube, and they'll sometimes do deep dives into the color grading of the same movie but during different releases in its cycle. And what's really interesting is usually these movies, the more they get released, the further they get from how they originally looked.
Vision,
so the original DVD release has green look, and then the remaster looks a certain way. And I always find that to be really interesting because it becomes a complete, not just a literal tonal shift, but a tonal shift of the movie as well. When you just change the color like that, it's amazing.
It's kind of important stuff from the perspective of you're shooting film, you're scanning your film. If you're not scanning film, someone's scanning it for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a base, and then you could just take it away from there, grade it however you see fit.
Yeah.
And there are different levels of grading. You could use DaVinci Resolve, you could use Photoshop, you could use Lightroom, and I still have 1990s version of Photoshop, so I'm not even up on. I'm sure there are a lot of looks that you could just drop on these days.
Yeah, but it might also be nicer not being in the cloud. How is it not being in the cloud? That's
I love it. I don't like being in the cloud. Yeah. So, I mean, I tend to stick to what I shoot and just do very light grading of just exposure and just levels.
You know who's probably done the best grade for me ever? Dave. here at Film Media.
Dave here.
Yeah. Like
Movie film.
Yeah, whenever I've sent in folks at home, if you're shooting Super 8, Double 8, FPP 16, and you need it develop, scan the full kit, which we offer online, you can get the file back however you want. You can get it flat, you can get it super like raw, like a DPX scan, or you can get something that's kind of like ready to go. The smallest file size, the MP4 that's kind of ready to go and share, looks awesome.
It's ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a true expert colorist with like the full setup. That's all here.
We don't talk about it enough.
Yeah.
At all.
That's the bonus that you get when you're working with individuals who are not only as passionate and experienced in film photography, as they are, but also come from a home media background, producing and releasing and doing in post-production and scanning and color grading for motion picture release, as well as archives and others. So we have one of our overseas clients is very, very considerate about when there is any example of the original auteur's vision for the film, we will be sent, at least a clip of that or
like
some
a
sort of example,
sheet. Yeah.
Exactly, of the color palette, et cetera, and then you are able to, to replicate that as much as possible with current technology, and then honor the auteur's intent. Or, to your point, sometimes that is no longer deemed as valuable. In the
or
market,
trendy, or
exactly, or is on trend, and you're asked to go in a completely different direction. So, yeah, color theory, fun stuff.
It's its own. It can have its own series of podcasts.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't know. Do such things exist?
There's a lot of big YouTube channels on color grading.
Color grading.
But they definitely, a lot of them start out as very technical, but the really good ones quickly steer away from that and actually start incorporating the cool stuff like theory and how it alters your perception of different concepts.
Right.
And yeah, it's a really, really cool subject. And I think the more films someone shoots, the better their eye gets, and you'll understand, oh, maybe I'm shooting something different because I'm shooting a different film.
What are your thoughts, Matt, on like the raw materials, the scan, the negative, whether it's still or like you can't color grade something to look good if you didn't initially shoot it well.
Oh, there's definitely a technical aspect to it. So, and I think for me, someone that the technical comes relatively easy, that was the hardest part to kind of understand, was that, okay, yes, I executed this technically, but why does it still look like crap? Oh, because I don't have like a concept behind it. I don't have the art part, the artistic part to apply to it yet. So I had to shoot a lot more and develop a taste for it and realize, oh, I like the stuff that looks like this. And wow, I can actually make my digital stuff look like this too if I work a little bit at it. So I think the more films you shoot, it can really help too.
Even though talk about movie film, when this is not the movie film episode, frequently Paige and I work together on little projects, and a project that has received no air whatsoever, it's not even completed, is that small project that we shot on FPP Sun 16 millimeter film. Frequently, my big complaint personally is I want to test as much film as possible. And that's why, Matt, you've been testing movie film, and we have a few now official FPP movie film testers.
Yeah.
So is subject. And I'll say to Paige, I'm like, Paige, we just got to shoot this film. Can you come up with some ideas? And you came up with that great idea of puppets, John Fideli's Children, puppets, and bicycles and fall leaves.
Folks, we haven't seen the final end result of this project yet, so Michael, maybe. I mean, it may not turn out as well as it was conceived as, but yes, I own a number of, not a lot, not equivalent to somebody who's working in this capacity in the industry, but I own a certain amount of props.
Yes.
From prop styling and set design and costuming done on occasion in the past. So, I brought up my bag of tricks and went to John's house and got to work.
You know, Matt, Butler was a more creative space. for us. We had an actual.
There was just stuff you could within arm's reach at
Yeah,
any point, but
we
it was
had-
also kind of messy too.
It was no everything. Yeah, it's always been messy, but there was the actual backdrop.
Oh, easily.
It was
And it was a different room almost every time you
There was a
turned.
studio. There was a lighting grid.
Mhm.
So frequently back in those days, Paige and I would shoot DVD cover art. A lot
Right
of
there.
spooky ones
Yes,
like
we did.
I can't think of offhand.
Book of Lore.
Book of Lore
Book of
and
Lore, yes. Where we turned an extremely lovely young woman into a hideous old witch with
Yes.
dreadlocks wig. Yes.
Yes.
We got cover of that. Yeah.
So, it's just not as much of that going on. I do miss it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I want to get back into it.
I don't miss the racket.
No.
There was even more noise there.
Oh yeah. It was different. It was a different time.
Yeah.
A different time, a different place. But so now that the summer is gone, I'm going to be editing up all these short films, and I call it FPP Roll Review. We've been doing it.
That's so much fun. I hope are those doing
The new one just dropped.
Oh, I need to check and see how that's doing because those are so much fun to record.
Yeah. So those are fun to drop. We're going to try to do more of those. So once the film's edited, Paige, we'll do a Zoom call and we'll grab the audio from it and talk about the concept and whatnot, what we did with that.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me in the least that you have a style and design background because you're the most stylish person in all of FPP by a long shot.
Paige doesn't know what to say.
I know. I was going to crack a joke about how I'll pay you for that plug later, but I couldn't even get that out.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
No, you always have to be nice to your style person when you're on commercial set because they make or break the shoot every time. All my commercial
Did they
gigs.
sabotage it?
Absolutely. A hungover stylist will tank a shoot.
That's
Absolutely.
hilarious. That's hilarious.
I think the most important is when we're doing food shoots. Food styling is everything. Everything.
So before we go, I do want to mention a few important things. I received 2 letters, one from Stephen Bross and one from Gabriel Rezandas. And both are about 220 film. I made the error of stating on the podcast that 220 film is no longer made.
How dare you?
And that's not true. For folks listening who don't know, 220 film is 120 roll film, but it's a longer film. And Matt, you explain the difference.
Sure. So I'm actually old. I've been shooting film long enough. I experienced this difference because when I started getting into doing like weddings and stuff with the Hasselblad, 220 was a game changer because I got to shoot twice as much film into a specialty back. So 120 film, of course, has backing paper all the way throughout. The 120 is taped to the inside of that backing paper. 220 has a backing paper start, and then it's just got the film, and then it's got the end it's got the end of it, but it's not backed the entire way. So it's a slightly different thickness than 120, and it has to go into either a separate back if it's a magazine style of medium format film, or some more modern medium format cameras have an adjustable pressure spring, and that will change that'll either change a gear set for the frame counter and adjust the pressure
Because the
appropriately.
thickness is different because there's no backing paper.
Exactly.
And it's practicality, right? It's a practical format because if you're shooting a wedding, you just need a roll of film that has more exposures on it.
Yes.
To keep you from changing out after 12 shots.
You don't break up the flow as much. So especially if you're shooting with a larger medium format camera. So you're shooting an RB or an RZ that normally has 10 exposures. The 220 backs give you 20. If you're shooting a 645, you're up to 32 exposures. That's almost 35 millimeter. But alas, when films started kind of declining in volume sales, that was the canary in the coal mine. If once 220 went, you knew they were going to start cutting.
Professionals were not shooting film anymore. Therefore, wedding photographers switched over to digital. There's just no need for it.
Yeah, and 220, I don't know if this was just what I saw from the retail side, my early days working at Midwest Photo, but 220 was not a film somebody shot 1 or 2 rolls of. They either bought a case of it, they bought the Pro Pack of 20 rolls of it, or they didn't buy any at all. There was very little in between because you just needed a whole stock house of it for a wedding or a larger event.
I don't really know if the folks that are asking for 220 are needed for corporate gigs, or is it nostalgia that they bought a Mamiya M645 and have the 220 back for it?
I think it's probably more that, because the 220 backs, dirt cheap.
Okay.
Usually, I mean, they're paperweights for
Yeah.
most cameras now. So if you can get a camera with it, usually the question I remember we'd get early on in FPP was, okay, well, can I finagle 120 into this? What can I do with this 220 back? And usually if it's a dedicated back, you're not going to have a good time if you put the wrong film in it.
Well, the good news is Shanghai Film Company of Shanghai, China, makes 220 film. So we were incorrect. And you could go on eBay, you could probably go on Amazon, or you can go direct to the Shanghai Film Company and you could buy your brick of 220 film.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
And Shanghai also, I mean, they've been a champion. The FPP carries 127 roll film made by Shanghai Film. They're GP3.
Yep.
And they're also taking Kodak Gold, slitting it down, and rolling 127. 127, like, there was a huge hole in the market. There was a company from Japan about 5 years ago called Raripan.
Oh, yeah, we used to offer that.
Yeah. Who sold it, and then the pandemic hit. Done.
Wasn't there another weird 127 that we carried?
I used to shoot something called Blue Fire.
Okay, that was 127.
Yeah, we never carried it.
Okay.
But, yeah. So folks who shoot 127, they want it. It's like 126 shooters. Like, hey, man, I need my film.
Yeah. Shanghai's they've kind of just always been there under the radar. I don't know if they still do it without special order, but they still offer ultra large format films too. So
I think you're right.
Yeah, on eBay, I know they offer those sizes, and then I haven't checked the main site in a while.
Weren't you telling me about some a company outside the U.S. that was offering like Aerocolor in like sheets? 70 mil, was it, or was it 4x5?
Yeah, there was somebody that was one of the companies that was doing the bulk loading machines was also offering like
Reflex
sheets.
Labs.
Yeah, I believe they were doing sheets of the Aerocolor as well. So I know a few folks who've played around with it, and just cool looking results. But it takes a lot of work to find all these little nooks and crannies where film's still offered.
Yep. The letter from Steve, he included some printouts. Trying to see the company name. Reflex Lab.
Okay, it is Reflex.
REFLX.
Yes.
Reflex Lab. They have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that they're distributed here in the U.S.
I don't think so. I think it's a lot of sell direct. Yeah.
Yep. So there's a lot of stuff out there. This has been the best time ever for film.
Wild to think of.
Yep. That's all I got. How about you, Matt? How about you, Paige? Anything else? We miss anything?
I think we're good.
If you folks have a chance, consider looking up Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Bud Abbott and Lou Costello meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, co-starring Boris Karloff, twice as menacing as ever.
It's really great.
It's a great tie-in.
Boris Karloff is in it. He plays Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's a lot of fun, and most of like the monsters that we carry have met Abbott and Costello. If you have never seen it, for me at least, The King, and it really is a great movie. Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Have you seen it, Matt?
No.
Oh my God, you haven't seen it.
I haven't.
Do you own a DVD or Blu-ray player?
Both, yeah.
Okay. All right. It's good to know.
Yeah, I've got the Blu-ray burner as well, because I gotta archive my stuff.
Okay. Podcast at filmphotographyproject.com. We're going to see everyone in Indianapolis.
In 2 weeks?
Yeah. Please, introduce yourself, please. I don't do well at live events, but I'm going to do my best. It's on the 26th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. By the way, we'll talk about it as soon as we get offline. The 26th, that's a 12-hour day, Matt.
Oh my God!
It
Well,
starts
that's trade show days. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't miss those.
Yeah.
But I'll power through it for FPP.
Yeah. All right, folks, we're going to see you really soon.